Okay, imagine this. What if the person you trust the most, a world leader, was actually an imposter? Now, I know, it sounds like a modern conspiracy theory, right? But this was the chilling premise of a TV episode from way back in 1963 from the legendary sci-fi series The Outer Limits. So today, we're going to break down The 100 Days of the Dragon, a wild story of political espionage that feels more and more like a prophecy every single year. You know, the show always kicked off with this iconic, chilling narration. It immediately sets this tone of unease, basically letting you know that what you're about to see is going to challenge your whole perception of reality. And this episode, believe me, it absolutely does. All right, so the story drops us right into the middle of a high-stakes U.S. presidential election. You've got this charismatic frontrunner who looks completely unstoppable. But halfway around the world, a rival nation isn't just watching the race. They're secretly planning to hijack the whole thing with a plan so terrifying it's almost unthinkable. So on one side, you have William Lion Selby. He's the all-American candidate, leading in every single poll, a total shoo-in for the White House. And on the other side, you've got Lee Chinsung, the formidable leader of a rising Asian nation, a guy the West sees as a major threat to global stability. A classic Cold War setup for sure. And here's the twist. Get this. Their plan isn't assassination. No, it's something way more insidious. They plan to replace the winner of the election with a perfect lookalike, an enemy agent who will seize control of the world's most powerful nation without anyone ever knowing. An impossible plan, right? I mean, how could that even work? Well, not in the world of The Outer Limits. See, to pull this off, the enemy has developed this groundbreaking and, frankly, horrifying piece of biotechnology that turns this whole political conspiracy into a physical reality. It's all based on this concept they call molecular plasticity. Basically, they've cooked up a serum that when you inject it makes human tissue as moldable as clay. I mean, for a few critical minutes, they can literally sculpt one person's face and body to perfectly match another's. It's wild stuff. And their plan is meticulous. It starts by finding an agent who's already a pretty close physical match. Then they use that crazy serum to sculpt his features into a perfect copy. The final piece of the puzzle is creating total chaos, a fake assassination attempt. And in all the confusion, the real Selby is taken out and the imposter just seamlessly takes his place. And just like that, the plan actually works. An enemy agent is in the White House. But here's the thing. You can't fake a soul. Almost immediately, the people in his inner circle start to notice these small, unsettling changes, little inconsistencies that spark this growing sense of dread. The evidence against him just keeps building in these fascinating ways. See, the imposter, he nails the public persona, but he completely fails on the intimate human details. He becomes cold, almost like a stranger to his own family. He shows zero interest in the space program he used to be obsessed with. And then comes the biggest red flag of all. His foreign policy suddenly does a complete 180, perfectly aligning with the goals of the rival nation. You know, the president's own daughter, Carol, she says it perfectly. It's not one big mistake. It's this collection of tiny inconsistencies that, when you add them all up, create this deep feeling that something is just wrong, that the man in the Oval Office is a stranger. So this growing suspicion kicks off this desperate, high-stakes investigation. The vice president, Ted Pearson, and Selby's family, they know something is wrong, but they're facing an unbelievable truth. I mean, how in the world do you prove the president of the United States isn't who he says he is? And just as they're starting to dig in, the conspiracy hits terrifyingly close to home. The vice president comes face to face with his own perfect double. Can you imagine? And that's when it hits them. This isn't just about replacing the president. The plan is to replace America's entire leadership. So the investigation unfolds as this frantic, 5-day race against the clock. They uncover the science behind this impossible transformation, but their search for the real president's body hits a dead end. They find out he was cremated. With time running out, the only option left is a dramatic, public confrontation at a White House reception to finally expose the truth. The whole thing boils down to this incredibly tense standoff right inside the White House itself. The plot is finally exposed, the imposter is captured, but it's a hollow victory. The real President Selby is gone forever, leaving a shocked nation and a really dangerous power vacuum. So what happens next? Well, in the aftermath, Vice President Ted Pearson,
The guy who uncovered the whole plot is sworn in as the new president, and he is immediately faced with an absolutely impossible decision. How do you respond to an act of war this insidious?
And in his very first address as president, he delivers what is really the core message of the entire story. He rejects retaliation because he understands that in the nuclear age, all-out war just means total destruction. The only answer, he says, isn't aggression, but unrelenting vigilance. I mean, for its time, that's a really sober and powerful conclusion.
And that just leaves us with this really chilling thought. A plot that was pure science fiction back in 1963, the ability to create a perfect fake of a person to spread deception, well, that's literally our reality now with AI and deepfakes. It forces us to ask, in a world where seeing is no longer believing, what does unrelenting vigilance actually mean for us today?